Thank you. Thank you. My name is Joe Oakart. I've been building websites for over 20 years, including Google, Amazon, and the United States federal government. I'm currently a principal software engineer at Nava, a public benefit corporation that helps federal, state, and local government agencies modernize their digital services. I'm here today to share my passion for accessibility, and through this workshop, we'll understand the many ways people experience the web. We'll expand our understanding of disability to include limitations that we all experience in our lifetime. And we'll learn how we can quickly start testing accessibility on websites. No special software or skills required. If you could please save your questions for the end, and we'll have some time to answer them then. Welcome. We each experience the world differently. We tend to think, is there an objective reality? We interpret what we experience as an objective reality, but it's natural to assume that other people experience the same thing. By experiencing the full spectrum of how others interact with the web, we can better understand their reality, because many times it may be different than ours. How do we experience the web? We experience it with sight. We experience it with movement, moving the mouse, typing on the keyboard. We hear it if we're watching a video, for example, and we experience it through understanding. These are the different types of kind of capabilities that help us understand and interact with the web. We see images. We listen to videos. We focus our attention to understand the meaning of websites. One difference in how we experience the web is color contrast. Low contrast between colors can cause eye strain or make it impossible for users to read the words on the page. Blurred vision. Vision issues can cause blurriness, which makes some small words difficult to read. When we use colors like red or green to indicate important information, like traffic in this example, colorblind users may be unable to see them. These users rely on words and shapes to understand the web. People with tunnel vision may only see a small part of our website at a time. This makes it difficult to find information if related items aren't close together, or if a page doesn't have clear navigation. And some users are blind or have severe vision problems. They may use a tool called a screen reader, which allows them to use the web without the ability to see web pages. This may be very different than how we interact with the web using a mouse and a visual screen we can look at. I'll let Mark Sutton explain a bit more about how these users experience the web.
This is Mark Sutton from the University of California, San Francisco's IT Web Services Department. Here today with a brief tour of screen reading technology. I'm a blind person who has been using screen readers, braille writers, scanning equipment, other adaptive technologies since my childhood. What a screen reader does is, for example, I'm going to start to read this page. University of California, San Francisco, and what I will now do is slow down the speech rate. 80%, 75%, 70%, 65%, 60%, 55%, 50%, 45%, 40%. Link, UCSF Medical Center. So as I was about to say, a screen reader converts what's on a computer screen into information that can be displayed through synthetic speech or braille output. And it does that by allowing you to use a computer instead of a mouse, a computer keyboard instead of a mouse. You can also use a braille display as an input device. And navigation. And what it does is it cleverly determines what's on the screen and presents you that information in a way that would allow for efficient navigation of these pages. So for example, I could just keep reading. Banner 3 items. Visited, link, image, home. Line by line, and we could be here all day.
or I could jump to the first heading on the page.
Heading level 2. Search for heading level 2. You are here. Heading level 1. Make videos accessible.
So as I'm moving down through the page, I can look for the category that interests me. And I'm just using commands built into the screen reader. So that's all pretty simple description of what a screen reader is all about. Now I'm going to go over and show a few examples of how that can fall apart. So I have a couple graphics on this page.
Mark Sutton hands on a MacBook Pro image.
So the first one is well described and uses an alt tag.
You are currently on it.
To describe what that graphic is all about. Now we go to the next graphic.
Reader 042116.jpg.
Much less useful. So it's important to use those elements. It's also true for tables. So I'm going to move to a table.
FDA approved medications. Table, 3 columns, 5 rows. FDA approved medications.
So the table is pretty self-explanatory, and I'm going to move into the table.
Medicine. Approved. Column 2 of 3.
And then if I go down into the table,
Medicine. Tolbutamide.
and as I move across,
Approved. 1975. Column 2 of 3.
we're getting the labels for the column headers and row headers. So it's important when programming tables, forms, and other elements on the web pages to use the proper HTML codes. I'll go to the
Table 3 columns.
second table on the page.
Medicine. Row 2 of 5 tolbutamide.
And as I'm in the table, I move across it.
Row. November 1995.
I get a date, but I don't know what that date is associated with. So it's important, as I was saying, to include proper coding tags for all these elements. These are just a few highlights of a screen reader's capabilities and some of the ways in which the experience can fall short for a blind user. The life of students, faculty, staff, and visitors is largely conducted on the internet nowadays. Screen reading technologies can make many of these interactions work more smoothly. When developers pay attention to certain coding standards, blind persons are able to participate in digital communication, being able to do such things as understand calendars and schedules, enroll in or teach classes, conduct research, and many more essential activities that are conducted electronically.
So I think that it's something that a lot of us haven't experienced, but it helps us understand to see how someone uses that kind of screen reader tool to navigate a website. Sorry, let's see. Somehow I got out of full screen mode. Okay, so there are also differences in how we interact with the web. When someone views a web page on their phone, fingers aren't as precise as a mouse. Small links or buttons may be difficult for mobile users to select. Some users may experience tremors. With Parkinson's or muscle weakness may make mouse movements unsteady. This can make it difficult to navigate menus. If the menus change when you like hover the mouse over them, because the mouse movements aren't steady. So that's why very often the best practice is to have the user actually click to have a menu change. Because if you just rely on how the mouse is hovering, as you're seeing in this example, it may not be steady. It may not let these users reliably navigate the website. There are also some users that may not be able to use mouse. They can use a keyboard to navigate websites by pressing the tab key or the arrow keys to move through the web page. We saw a little bit of that in Mark Sutton's video, but there may be users who are sighted that just for some reason can't use a mouse. Let's say you have a broken arm. You may be using the keyboard to navigate. And in kind of a more extreme case, people who have lost the use of their arms may be unable to use a mouse or standard keyboard. They use a tool called mouse stick with touchscreens or specialized keyboards. Let's watch a quick product video of how these users interact with the web.
Tubus One is a hands-free mouth-operated stick designed specifically for people with physical limitations in arms and hands to regain independence. The ergonomic design makes it easy to use Tubus One many hours a day. With this, navigating devices, writing texts, or playing games is fast and easy as never before. Tubus One has been developed in order to meet your requirements for hygiene, accessibility, and lightweight to minimize effort. Tubus One is a hands-free mouth-operated.
Okay. So that's another way that people can interact with the web.
Tubus One is a hands-free mouth-operated stick designed specifically for people with physical.
Okay. So aside from yeah, I'll absolutely share a link to that video. Aside from that alternate way of interacting with websites, we also have differences in how we hear. Now, this may be a little less prevalent. A lot of websites don't use sound, but especially when there are videos or there are links to videos, it can make a big difference. People who can't hear, they may have their sound turned off, may find videos hard to understand if they don't have subtitles. This could be something as severe as hearing damage from loud noises, or as simple as, you know, you're walking around outside with earmuffs because it's cold. The final kind of category is how differences in how we understand the web. Did you know that 15% of the world's population suffers from some form of dyslexia? This common condition can make large blocks of text more difficult to understand. Without enough spacing between lines, words can run together, making reading impossible. There are also many distractions. Distractions are everywhere, from messages and email on our phones to kids and coworkers. Distractions make it difficult to understand complex websites and digest hard to understand information. They limit our ability to process what may be displayed. We've all encountered legalese and contracts and waivers. Complex language can also be a difference in how we experience the web. Even less technical language can be a barrier to understanding. Websites that don't use plain language can make understanding difficult or impossible to some users. Some users, when too much is going on, it can be hard to figure out how to use a website. Some people are more sensitive to overstimulation and may shut down in the face of a dense or complex web page. You'll notice that more modern web pages tend to be a little less busy than this. Whereas this, I think this is an older version of the Yahoo site, has so much going on, even without any kind of overstimulation disorder, it can be difficult to figure out what's going on and where to go. And people also have some memory issues. Who has perfect memory? When websites have multiple pages, users may not remember what they've entered or instructions from a previous page. This can make websites confusing and difficult to navigate if web pages don't have clear reminders. One fascinating tool to help us understand the web is an extension to Chrome called Funkify. Funkify lets you experience firsthand what some of these users experience when they're navigating websites. It can be a great way of just kind of expanding your understanding of the web and how these people experience the world, how we all experience the world. So it's a Chrome extension. So once it's installed, it has a number of simulators. For instance, Blurry Bianca, as we were talking about, this is kind of what a website would look like if you had some issues with blurred vision. It has a number of different modes. So we have Color Carl. It doesn't really affect this website as much, but there are some websites that can be very, very difficult to use for a colorblind user. And this lets you simulate what that experience would be like, which can be very helpful both in expanding your understanding and in making websites accessible for those users. Dyslexia Danny. We've talked about how common dyslexia is. This kind of, it is not exact, but it helps simulate what that experience is like and how having very dense text could cause problems. Trembling Trevor, again, can be a great way of seeing where you might have issues with menus or other parts of the website that might be difficult to navigate without precise control. Tunnel Toby. Again, if things aren't close together, you may not be able to see the whole page. You might have difficulty navigating. And this can be a great way of identifying those issues by seeing what it's like for those users. And Peripheral Pierre, a little bit different, similar to tunnel vision, but there may be some people who are losing their primary vision and are relying on peripheral vision to view web pages. So again, all of these can just help us understand how other people experience the web. And this tool, it has a lot of free features. There are some premium features that let you combine some of these changes to really get an experience of how different users might experience various websites. It can be very, very interesting and informative. So now that we've seen a few different ways that people experience the web, I want us to reflect on the fact that you will personally experience the web differently in your lifetime. Let's think about recovery from surgery. Through our lifetime, I think we're all very likely to have some kind of surgery. 50 million people a year in the US alone have surgery. 5 million surgeries affect sight, affect the eyes. 3 million affect using the mouse and keyboard. They affect the hand or the arm. 1 million affect hearing, the ability to listen to videos. And at least 100,000 affect focus and understanding, brain surgeries. Recovery from any surgery, even if it doesn't affect your hand or your eye or your ear, can make using the web harder. You can be dealing with pain or fatigue that can be another source of distraction. We can have cognitive impairment because we're on medication, or just because we're dealing with the psychological and emotional repercussions of a major surgery. So this is likely to affect everyone. Illness and injury. Some interesting statistics. Sight. By age 65, 90% of us will have cataracts to one extent or another. They may not all require surgery, but our vision does change as we get older. 7.5% of us will have some kind of eye injury in our lifetime. 96% of us by age 90 will experience some kind of hearing loss. 12% in our lifetimes will experience a hearing injury, oftentimes from loud noises at concerts or workplaces. Movement. 42% of people will experience some kind of motor difficulty by age 85. 6% will develop carpal tunnel syndrome, which can very directly affect our ability to use a mouse and keyboard. 5% will develop Parkinson's, tremors, which again, we saw can very dramatically affect how we use web pages. And understanding, like I said, who hasn't experienced, who has a perfect memory? Who hasn't experienced forgetting something? 66% of us will experience some kind of cognitive decline by age 70. 40% of us will experience memory loss by age 65. So, and this is not meant to terrify us, but it's just meant to say that as we get older, as we experience life, our experience of the web will change. And we can't rely on having perfect vision and hearing and motor control to navigate websites, which makes it all the more important that we make sure websites are accessible regardless of these limitations. Even aside from illness and injury and surgery, how many people have experienced a misbehaving computer? I would bet most of us have. Computers malfunction between 11 and 20% of the time. Buttons may be unresponsive. Mouse movements may be erratic. Have you ever tried to use a mouse that's dirty and you can't quite get it to move? Wireless connections may have problems. Or there may be physical damage. Have you ever seen a user or used a phone with a broken screen? There are all kinds of things that can make websites more difficult to navigate when our computer equipment doesn't work perfectly. And the more accessible our websites are, the more we can account for that, the more we can use websites, even if we have problems with our technology. There are also common situations that impact the way we use websites. Have you ever been traveling in a bus or on an airplane or on a boat, trying to use a computer and it's bumpy? So we talked before about tremors. Even if your muscles are perfect, you may be traveling in a bumpy environment, and that may make it difficult to precisely select things. You may have the sound turned off because someone is sleeping, because you have a child sleeping in the other room, you have a partner, you're in a quiet space, you're in a library. Or you may be out in direct sunlight. You may be enjoying the beautiful spring and summer weather. And because you're outdoors, that may make it difficult to see the screen. That's when contrast is important. If there's low contrast and you're dealing with sunlight, you may not be able to see what's going on the website. So that there are all of these different experiences that we will all at some point in our lifetime experience the web differently and have a need for more accessible websites. So, how many of us have had challenges using the web? Show of hands. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have had a challenge using the web. Any kind of challenge can be big, can be small. And if you're comfortable sharing in chat, what circumstance made it more difficult for you to use the web? How did it affect your ability to use websites? How did the experience affect your perspective on accessibility? Because I think this is something that's touched most of us in some way. I would invite you to share and take a moment to gather some of our collected experiences. Poor signal.
Hi,
Poor signal can
Veronica.
definitely fit.
How are you doing today? I'm doing good.
I need to mute someone. Give me a sec. Okay. I'm trying to find.
So, problems reading Zoom chat because the letters are too small. That's a great one. That is a great example of how the size of text can make a big difference in our ability to access technology. Too much information on web pages makes it hard to focus. And that's a very, very common problem. And it's also one that's easy to solve by splitting things up into separate pages and adding more white space. as we get older, the web becoming blurry or having light sensitivity. That's a very good one I hadn't mentioned before, but light sensitivity can be an issue. And if we're sensitive to light, if we have to kind of turn down the brightness in our monitor, again, that's an issue where contrast can become a problem. If there isn't enough contrast between elements on the website, when we turn down that brightness, we'll have a harder time navigating. Floating mouse, yep. Broken mouse or keyboard, that happens a lot. Shoulder or finger injuries. We have to learn to use the mouse with our other hand. Even if we don't have tremors, if that's something we can easily do, try to use the mouse with your non-dominant hand, and it can be a lot more difficult to navigate a website. That can be an easy way of us seeing the importance of having those larger click targets. Folks with lower literacy, yep, that's definitely a barrier to accessing websites and understanding them, being able to use them. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Those are some amazing experiences. Again, I think these are very wide impacts. These are very common situations that people experience. So, because these are things that are going to impact all of us and things that we have all experienced, today we're going to go into some quick and easy ways we can test for accessibility. These are going to, each way of testing for accessibility is going to take less than 5 minutes. It's going to have no special skills required, no software to install, and these are going to be a great first step towards making websites more accessible. The intention here isn't to make you an accessibility specialist that can catch 100% of issues. The goal here is making websites better than they were yesterday. It's giving you the tools to sit there and in 5 minutes say, hey, how accessible is this? How many people would have issues with this for one of the reasons we've already explored? So the first thing we're going to look at is a really great feature in current versions of Chrome. It's built in, so you won't necessarily have to install Lighthouse, but this will be accessible if you're using Chrome. This is a tool that you can go to Google's Lighthouse website, because this is a tool published by Google. So even if you aren't using Chrome, you could go to it directly and you can still use this, but it's easiest to use in Chrome. So what I'm going to do is provide kind of a tour of this. It provides really easy accessibility checks and links to explanations that will give you more information about how a website is accessible. So here I've pulled up yahoo.com because I was looking for a major website that had accessibility issues. What I did, I went to the dots in the upper right-hand corner. I clicked on those. I clicked on the More Tools menu. And then from that More Tools menu, I'm going to Developer Tools. So I don't want you to be intimidated by this. When you click Developer Tools, you're going to see some code for the web page. And I don't want you to worry about that, because we don't care about this Elements tab that's selected by default. We're going to click on these two little greater than signs, the little arrows. And when we click on more tabs, we're going to see an option for Lighthouse. Lighthouse is the name of the tool we're interested in. It's the accessibility tool that's built into Chrome, and you don't need any technical experience to use it and analyze a page. So when you go to Lighthouse, you'll see some options. It can check different things aside from accessibility. Today, we're just going to look at accessibility. It also has some options. It can look at the website as if you were a mobile user, as if you were a desktop user. But most of the time, we can leave these options at their default, just the way they're working as is. And you'll notice that there's a button at the top of the page that says Analyze Page Load. So when we click this button, it's going to analyze the page for accessibility. and it'll take a minute. We just wait for it to load and check the page. Some websites may take a little longer than others. And 88% accessible. So not bad, but there are definitely some accessibility issues here. You'll notice it has a list of issues below. Contrast, one of the things that we've already seen and talked about, there are a number of elements on the page where there isn't a high enough color contrast between the background and the text. And that could make these parts of the page difficult to read for users. Names and labels. We see links that don't have a discernible name. We'll see a better example of that later, but when we are looking at the screen reader, the only way they know what a link is the text of the link. So best practices. Touch targets aren't large enough. So again, on mobile, we need to have a larger button so that a finger can more easily find it. So ARIA is a technical standard that makes websites more accessible. And in this case, it looks like there's some errors with ARIA incompatibilities. You'll notice if we scroll down, there are additional items to manually check because not all accessibility issues can be found automatically. A lot of accessibility issues have to do with the user's ability to understand and interact with the page. So we can do a lot automatically, but we can't do everything. So these manual tests provide instructions for, if you wanted to, how to go in deeper, how to really understand whether the website is accessible. And each of these has a link to more extensive information, video tutorials, and references on why this matters, what it is to be accessible, how to check for accessibility, how to know whether something is accessible. And these are all free resources. So Lighthouse gives you direct links to find out more and to learn more. So if you see a problem with a website, you can click the link and try to understand what's going on. So that's kind of a quick tour of Lighthouse. I think it's really a wonderful, wonderful tool. It is now built into Chrome. So anytime you have Chrome installed, you can pull that up and very quickly see if a website is accessible. There are a lot of other Chrome extensions or extensions for other browsers that provide very similar checks on accessibility. But these tools let us quickly determine, is a website accessible? Is it not accessible? Are there problems? And even if we don't personally know how to fix them, it lets us raise visibility. It lets us say, hey, I'm raising my hand. There are some issues here. Can we fix them? Because especially for government sites, it's very, very important that websites be accessible so that the public can fully use them. So another way we can test for accessibility very quickly without even using something like Lighthouse, we can try experiencing the web the way others experience it. Funkify is great, but on work computers, we may not be able to use it. But even without an extension like Funkify, we can disable sound. We can turn off sound, we can unplug our speakers. This simulates users that may have kids sleeping, maybe hard of hearing, maybe in loud places. We can give our mouse a rest and use our keyboard. This shows us how screen reader users may experience a web page, users with limited mobility, users with limited vision. Another great suggestion from actually a former colleague was putting on sunglasses or going outside. The idea being, again, that it simulates having lower vision, having lower contrast. It's very easy. How many people have sunglasses lying around? It kind of gives us a feel for, is this website going to be accessible when people don't have perfect sight? Yep, and actually that's a great point. I see someone mentioned Office 365. has an accessibility checker. Not just web pages, but even other documents. There are automated ways of checking accessibility and seeing if something is more or less accessible. Another great way to check accessibility very quickly. Try using the web when you are tired or distracted. Remember, some people are going to have less focus than you. Some people are going to have less ability to process the information on a web page. A great way to simulate that, when you first wake up in the morning or right before you go to bed at night, whenever you are most groggy, try to go to your web page. Try to access it, try to read it, try to understand what's going on. While having a conversation. So try to use a web page while actively having a conversation. Bonus points if it's with a 5-year-old. While entertaining children, while watching an explainer video. All these things can create distractions and limit your ability to understand and interact with the web page. And it's easy to say, well, someone could just turn those off and be undistracted, but you with distractions is actually a very good simulation of what other people may experience without distractions, who have different limitations. So that's actually one recurring theme of this is when we're trying to see if a website is accessible, one of the best things we can do is to be overly sensitive. Because things that are a little difficult for us, things that create some eye strain or we have to think extra hard about, could prevent someone else from using the website entirely. So the more sensitive we are to what we experience, the more we accommodate other people's experience. Common issues that make websites inaccessible are missing alternative text for images, which we saw in the screen reader video. But when we have an image, there's something called an alt tag, an alternative text, that helps users that can't see the image to understand what exists there. What would they be seeing if they could see? Not enough contrast between colors. Very, very common one. Also a very easy one to automatically test for with something like Lighthouse. Problems using a keyboard instead of mouse. There are some websites, if you try to navigate with the keyboard, you will skip around on the page. Instead of just going from top to bottom, have you ever been on a web page where you're typing in, one of the fields and you hit tab and it skips 3 fields? That happens, and that can make it very difficult to navigate without a mouse with a keyboard. So it can be very useful just to tab through a page and make sure everything seems like it's in the right order. Missing subtitles on videos. Again, an easy one to check for. Does it have closed captioning? Can you turn on subtitles? If you can't turn on subtitles, then that's an accessibility problem for a video. Links that don't describe what they link to. So again, if we see here, if we just have the word link and that's all we have for the link, a screen reader user is going to hear the word link and not know where that link goes because they may not know the wider context around the word link. Whereas at the bottom of the screen, and I will share this presentation afterwards, how to overcome and avoid 7 common digital accessibility issues, that link accurately describes where you're going. So a screen reader user would hear how to overcome and avoid 7 common digital accessibility issues and know exactly where that link is taking them. So we always want to create links that are descriptive of what they're linking to. Not using plain language. Again, there are many cases that are, we've all seen legalese, we've seen highly technical or highly academic documentation, but there are also just in a very simpler sense, using a lower grade level of vocabulary, using smaller words, using simpler, plainer language can help people connect with the content. It can help make sure that the widest audience possible can understand what your website is trying to convey. And the last one on the list of common issues is too many distractions on the page. like we saw with that Yahoo page. Just so much going on, it's hard to figure out where to go next and what to do. It can be overwhelming. Now, these are common issues. This isn't an exhaustive list. There are always more, but these are some of the biggest ones you'll see, and some of the easiest ones to fix. When I link you to the presentation, we also do have a wonderful article, How to Overcome and Avoid 7 Digital Accessibility Issues. It also has a link to further training on accessibility and further information for anyone that's interested. So, what tips and tricks help you experience the web like users with limitations? When you have 5 minutes to test, when you're trying to figure out, hey, I've just created this awesome website. Is it accessible? What do you do? What tricks do you use to tell very quickly, is this accessible? Is it not accessible? Are users going to be able to understand and use what I've created? One thing I know I've mentioned is be sensitive to problems, be more sensitive to problems that are minor inconveniences for us, because they may be more major for others. But what we're going to try here is something called a chat waterfall. So what I'd like everyone to do, go ahead and we're going to take a couple minutes. If you would type in the chat a tip or trick you can think of to help experience the web the way someone with more limitations might experience, or someone who would experience it differently would experience it. We're all going to type that without hitting enter, and then we're all going to at the same time hit enter, and we're going to have a waterfall of different tips and tricks for more accessibly experiencing websites. So as you're typing that, just think about, how have you stumbled onto accessibility issues in the past? What tools have you used to quickly check accessibility? How can you know if a website has accessibility issues? I'll give us a minute to type, kind of reflect and get that typed, and then we'll count down to all hit enter together.
No.
And don't worry if you hit enter too soon, that's fine. Well, let's go ahead and yeah. So hitting enter in 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and hit enter on whatever tip or trick you have thought of. We have some amazing tips and tricks here. So we have changing your monitor color or viewing it through a monochrome filter. That's an awesome idea. Using a keyboard with just one hand, that's very easy. JAWS is another screen reader, so that is an excellent, if you have the time and interest, installing something like JAWS or another screen reader can very easily give you the experience that we saw for a user who isn't able to see. Partially closing eyes to make it more blurry, that's an excellent one. That's very, very easy to do. Using a screen magnifier, that's one we didn't talk about, but a lot of users, there are accessibility features built into Windows and Macintosh that let you have like a little magnifying glass on screen, and trying to view a website using that magnifier can help you understand whether people would be able to navigate and effectively use your website if they were using a tool like that. Using only one hand, using built-in accessibility checkers. Yeah. Yep. Changing color settings on your monitor. We've seen. Put your arm around your back and try typing. That's creative. So again, it's anything you can do to really help mimic what other people may experience when experiencing the web. Asking family members to help. That's also a really great asking family members, asking children, asking other people, because one of the best ways to understand how other people experience the web is to ask them, is to talk to them, is to pull in their experience. The more we can pull in their experience, the more we can understand how other people truly experience the web. Well, thank you so much. As promised, we have some time for Q&A at the end. So again, we will provide a copy of this presentation afterwards and a recording. But do we have any questions?